Welcome to another video. I know it's been a while because I've been live streaming, so check out the YouTube live streams. Just click on notifications to set them whenever I am live. But today we're going to be doing a slightly different video. What we will be talking about is how to start playing the game. Now, I like that Legends of Runeterra makes you play a few practice games, but I don't think they ever go into full detail. And I know that when you read a lot of the text, it doesn't really help you out that much. It gives you a sort of idea, but it never fully explains how to play. And so I want to make a video on how to play. I don't want to make this video very long. So if you enjoy, subscribe, like the video. And I made this deck to make it as easy as possible for you to learn. And I'm going to take you through a tutorial on how to play. We're going to go through a basic run through with an AI. I don't care about winning or losing because we're just going to play how to, we're just going to go ahead and learn how to play. So the first thing is you start off with 4 cards and then you get a 5th one every time we enter a turn. You always draw a new one. And what I want to do is I want to start with different types of cards, just so I can show you guys how to play this. Hopefully we get a little lucky and get something a little faster. Okay, I like this. And we are gonna start right here. The first thing, if you noticed, I just skipped and you notice how the things right here increased, right? You also noticed how this increased to 1. So I want to tell you what that means. We always start the game with 1. So if you go back to the video, it only had 1 like this. And then that number right here, this number 2, was actually a 1. That means we have 1 mana, aka we can talk about it like energy. 1 mana to play with. Now, what is mana? Mana is, like I said, the energy to play cards, and every card has it. If you click right here, it tells you, right, cost. This is how much mana you need to spend to play this card. So 1. So if we have 2 here, and then we'll talk about this one right now. If we have 2, we have enough to play this character. Now, you can play it as you can see, right? This has 3 mana, and even though we have 3, if you can count right there, 1, 2, 3. Even though we have 3, check out what's gonna say. You don't have enough mana, right? Why is that? Well, the most important part is that every time you don't use up your mana, it goes into these 3 slots. You can only store 3 additional mana. So if you have 3 already there and you don't end up using one of your manas the turn before, that just gets lost, right? And in this game, it is important. I would say when you first start off, don't worry too much about how well the mana works and stuff like that. Don't worry too much about that. Just focus on learning how to play, knowing when to attack, right? And so we cannot play that. You're saying, okay, well, then what's the point of storing this? What is this for, right? This mana is called spell mana, which is reserved, check it out, up to 3 unspent is banked at the end of the turn for playing spells. There are 2 types of main cards. There are units. Think about them like if you're playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Or you're playing Pokemon. These are like your monsters that attack, the ones that deal damage. These are the units, but we also have this secondary type of card called spells, and you can tell the difference between these rectangular things that are units and then these had to have a more of a circular side, which are spells. And so now we have 3 mana. Notice that we can actually play this one, even though it says 3 on the top. That little mana right here is used, and that only matters because we don't necessarily want to make it so easy that, you know, let's say this turn I just completely pass. I will have 1, 2 extra mana that gets stored here, so we have an additional 3, and we'll have 3 mana for the next turn. That'll make 6, and that will be a lot more difficult, especially if we just have like a bunch of 6 cost units like this. Usually the more powerful units get the larger numbers because it takes a little longer in the game for you to play, and stuff like this means, well, we can just run a bunch of 6-unit cards, 5 and 6 units, knowing that we can probably summon them every single turn, starting after like turn 3, right? And the game wants to make sure that we don't do that all the time. And so we're gonna stay with these little mana. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play this card, right? And you're gonna notice that each unit, each spell, right, has effects right here that say play. This works only when you take a card from your hand into the field. That's usually what it means to play a card. It says discard a card to draw one. Okay, so that's exactly what I'm going to do here. Check it out. I'm going to discard this card. We'll talk about it next turn. And we get to draw a card. All right, don't worry about what the opponent's doing. I'll explain our turn, right? And check it out. We've used 1 mana. Right here, you can see 1 mana we've used. So we have 1 more mana to summon a unit and 1 more mana to use as a spell. Well, I can either use this card, which costs 2, and let's read it. To play, discard up to 2 cards, draw 1 for each card you discarded. I don't really want to draw. And now we have this card. I'm so glad we were able to draw it. This, if you guys play League of Legends, know this guy right here, Teemo. This is known as a special type of unit card. You can notice because it's kind of rectangular, but it has like these spikes and it's golden, right? What this is, it's a champion card. You can only have a limited amount of champion cards. I believe it's 6. When you build your deck, so that way you don't just have 40 champions. That would be really like good. And you can only put up to 3 in each deck. So if there's 6 units, you can't put 6 Teemos. You can only put 3 Teemos and then 3 of something else. What does Teemo do? Well, Teemo is a cool champion because all champion cards have this secondary thing. Notice how in the past unit, it had an effect, right? Well, this has an effect as well, but it also has this level up. And usually these two, the effect and the level up, go hand in hand on creating a stronger version of him. Teemo, once you meet this level up requirement, which is to plant poison puff caps, which we'll learn right now, turns into this stronger Teemo, right? You notice that his attack is a little stronger, right? Notice that this power increases, this red one increases as well, right? And this is what I really enjoy about this game, is that our goal is to usually level up our champions because they have way stronger effects. And so I'm going to summon it right now, right? Because we still have enough mana. And you might be wondering, okay, well, it says end turn. Is that all you do? All you do is end the turn? No. You see the sword right here, this big orange sword that's flaming? That is called the attack token. I just usually call it the attack. That means that if you have it, right, which I currently have it, that means I'm able to attack their side of the field, kind of like Yu-Gi-Oh. So you drag the people that you want to attack with, and then you click commit. That just means that, yep, I want to attack with these two. And usually there's different interactions we can do here, but for now, I want to attack, right? You'll notice that Teemo kind of has this cool aura. This aura is not on all champions. This aura is very specific to something that some cards have. For example, Teemo. This is called a keyword. This keyword makes champion cards and other cards that have these a little bit different, that twist the game a little bit. Because we don't necessarily need to worry about it this turn, I'm gonna just click commit and we'll attack. Notice that we got a cool animation on these little mushrooms, right? Well, that's Teemo's ability. Nexus Strike. This only works if we strike, aka we hit the enemy nexus. That means if we have a direct attack. Notice that the enemy did not have any monsters, any units to block, and so Teemo was able to attack the nexus, right? And if we do, we plant 5 poison puff caps on random cards in the enemy deck. We'll talk about them right now. But that's exactly what Teemo does, right? He plants 5 poison puff caps. Now we hear this Nexus Strike. What is Nexus Strike? Nexus is our life points right here. Notice that I have 20, but now the opponent has 17, right? That's because we hit them with 2. Now we can start learning these cards right here. Power 2, that means every time it hits, it deals 2 damage, right? So we dealt 2, and then we dealt 1 with Teemo right here. So think about that. The orange is dealing damage. And now these poison puff caps, what are they? Well, we just planted 5, and you can see it right here. It says 5. If you want to figure out how many they have in the deck currently, you can actually click on the deck, and you notice that it says puff caps 5. So that's very helpful. And it says when we plant 15 of them, we can level him up to the stronger version of Teemo. This has a different effect now. Now the effect is doubling the amount of poison puff caps. So let's pretend that they have 15, right, to level up, and we strike one more time. They will now have 30 puff caps. If we strike again, 60. If we strike again, 120, right? You can see how this starts planting poison puff caps in their deck. And you might be wondering, well, what do poison puff caps do? Well, the good thing about Legends of Runeterra is that all the cards and all the strategies here that you have are displayed on this effect. You just have to right click to see it. But poison puff cap, deal 1 to the Nexus. You might be saying, deal 1 to your Nexus. Why do I want that? It's gonna kill me, right? Does that mean we have to win with Teemo as fast as possible? No. Remember that these puff caps are actually in the opponent's deck. So when the opponent draws them, it's actually the puff caps that deal damage to the opponent, not to you. So keep that in mind. I got scared when I first started playing that, so I didn't attack with him. But that's exactly what it does. So let's end the turn. Now we have 3 energy, right? And they summon the unit. Now the unit has these special words and everything, so we're not going to worry about that. Hopefully they attack. And you notice that they dragged my person in. I don't want to talk too much about keywords. You guys can learn about them later, so I'll just go over them quickly. This has 2 keywords. It has can't block, which means that if we were to attack the Nexus, it can't be used to shield any attacks. And challenger. Now this one's a little bit more creative. You can choose the enemy, so on their side they can choose which one of my units, which one of my cards is going to block, right? And so they decided to say, hey, I'm gonna attack Teemo. Now this is cool, but the awesome thing is now we get to incorporate spells. Check out what this spell does. Deal 2 to anything. That means that we can use this card to hit the Nexus, right? You can notice that we can point it towards that and it'll hit 2, right? Or we can put this and strike anything that's kind of highlighted. I could strike my own, I can strike my units, but I want to strike theirs, right? And it says deal 2 to anything. Does that mean that it's going to survive? Does that mean that it's going to live? It all depends on the red life. Think about the red, like the heart, right? This is how much health they have. And if they take more than this damage or equal or more of that damage, so in this case, if they take 1 damage, they die, right? Because we're going to be dealing 2 damage to it, it's obviously going to die. Now, if they were to strike, right, bam, I would still kill it because Teemo always deals 1 damage, which it's the only thing it can withstand. But Teemo will also die because it can only withstand 1 damage, and this is dealing 5, right? And so we would attack each other and they would both die. But I don't want that. I want to save my Teemo, so I want to use this Mystic Shot. Bam, it dies, and you see that Teemo survives for another turn. And now I don't want to draw again, so I'm just going to pass. I'm going to say I don't have anything else to do. If the opponent says pass, then that means it goes to me, right? So far, so good. Now what do I want to do? I can go for the attack, which I think I don't want to do just yet. I want to summon another unit, the Puffcap Peddler. Okay, they might do something that kills the Teemo, sadly. So let's recap what the Puffcap Peddler does. It says, when you play a spell, kind of like the spell that I attacked last time, plant 3 poison puff caps on random cards in your enemy deck. So that means that if I were to use a spell this, right? Teemo isn't the only one that plants the poison puff caps. It's actually the puff cap peddler, right? We need to hope that their spell right here that they added, right? Because this is a spell. Most of the spells line up in this little line right here. Doesn't hit the Teemo, although I have a very good idea that it is going to hit the Teemo. It says deal 1 to a random enemy or the enemy nexus 5 times. So it can hit this one time and this one time and this one time and this one time and then this again. Or it can hit this 3 times and this can hit a one here, one here. It can hit this 5 times if it wants to, right? It's all random. So we're just going to place our bets and see what happens. Oh, I hit my Teemo, right? The cool thing is we have the attack token. Last turn we didn't have it, but this turn we do. And so we're going to attack. Right? I don't have to use any spells just yet, so I'm going to keep the Puff Cap Peddler on the field, right? And don't worry about what they're doing on their side. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to... Okay, notice that this turn I don't have it, right? Every other turn we attack. So they attack on one turn. They have the ability this turn to attack, and then I don't have it. And then next turn I will have it, and then they won't have it. So it kind of balances out whether I want to protect, whether I want to attack, right? And I notice, okay, well, they have really strong units, right? I think what I want to do is I need to look for answers in my deck. This does something that's very similar. I discard a card to draw a card. We have this, and you notice that things aren't looking that good for me. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to use a spell. I'm going to discard... Actually, because I don't care about winning or losing, I'm going to discard... Actually, I'll discard this. So I can kill it, even though this spell, it says to play discard 1, right? We have to discard a card to deal 3 damage to anything. Even though this has enough life to sustain this spell, when we attack with this guy, even though it has 2 damage right now, it'll be able to kill it, right? Because 3 plus 2 equals 5, and so they'll be able to wipe a clear board. We'll be able to have a clear board from their side, and so I think that's what I want to do. Check it out, right? And you saw how the Puff Cap planted some on their side. You might be wondering, aren't you losing? Yeah, a little bit. I am losing a bit because we only have a few amount of cards in our hand, whereas they have 5. But that's not always the case. You'll notice right now, we got a new champion card, Jinx. And the way she levels up is a lot easier than Teemo. It says, I see your hand is empty. So her strategy is actually to get rid of your cards as fast as possible. And the good thing about that is we just drew something that discards a card, which means our hand will be empty. Check it out. And she levels up. She levels up, and now she's a little stronger. Notice that she's a little bit stronger now. 5 attack, 4. And unfortunately, they have a spell to counteract me, but that's totally okay. I wish I can show you guys what she did, but we can't show it off this time. Remember, this person can block, so I'm going to go for a direct attack now. The cool thing about champions is you only need to level them up once, and all other copies, so if I have 2 other copies of Jinx, they're already leveled up. That is one of the cool parts. We're gonna summon a unit, right? Because we have enough cards here. And now let's talk about spells. You notice before, these spells, we've just been able to use them whenever. There's actually certain priority in spells. Priority, I mean when can you use the spells. For example, notice how this spell, you can't fully see it, but you know how right under the 4 there's like a little boot with wings? That's a fast spell. Notice how this spell has this purple thing, kind of like a clock, right? This is what's known as a slow spell. And notice how this spell has these little sparklies, right? These are called burst spells, and we'll talk about them right now. These burst spells can be used whenever. If I use it right now, check it out. I just use it, right? Whereas these slower spells give the opponent an opportunity to do something with them. So for example, it helps them interact. Let's say that I want to deal 5 damage to this, right? Notice that it didn't work. Sorry about clicking there. But notice that it didn't just go off and dealt 5 damage, right? But if I use this, check it out. Right? It just works. This one does not. This is because you have to commit to these spells and you have to let the opponent see if they want to interact with them. Check this out. See? The opponent doesn't have anything, and so it goes through. They summon another card, and notice that this is also a slow spell, so if I had something, I can interact with it. But I don't. So I'm just gonna go ahead. And I'm blocking because they are taking a lot of damage, right? Notice that is a 5 damage. This is 5 damage. If I let this hit without blocking, I would be down to 3, and I don't want that. So we go ahead, see what we have left, right? Notice that we are getting mana, but our poison puff caps are coming through, right? Notice that they drew 1, and so it dealt damage to them. How many do we have? 17. Not that many if they have almost 30 cards, right? 17 is not that much. I drew a perfect final addition to the spells. This is called a focus spell. And this one works like a burst spell. But we don't want to activate this immediately without the opponent doing anything. And so the game decided to create these focus spells. Check this out. I have to read this one because it's a little confusing. Can be played outside combat or when no other spells or skills are pending, happens instantly and allows you to continue to play other cards. So what this means is that when I'm going to attack, I cannot use it. If we are in combat, that just means when we are about to attack, we cannot use these focus spells. And if they use a spell, kind of like what they did last time to summon those sand soldiers, I cannot use this to interact with it. I have to wait until the field is cleared, where there's nothing else we can do, and then we can play it. I can't play it right now because it says I need to discard a card. So all I can do is attack. And I'm okay with losing this person if it means destroying one of their champions. So I'm okay with attacking here. Right? Check it out. They're drawing, but they're losing some damage, right? The champion had to block. And I'm not too worried about this because I want to find I want to show you guys how to play this game, right? Notice that now we have a lot more mana towards the end of the game, and we're slowly being able to play different cards at the same time. Now this is a fast spell. The cool thing about fast spell is kind of like a hybrid of a slow spell and a burst spell. For example, this fast spell, I can use it right now if I want to, right? I can use it and it works. But a fast spell can also be used when we attack or when they attack, or in response to their spells. Check this out. We're gonna have them summon it. It doesn't matter that I'm losing. I'm gonna put this, I'm gonna discard, and let's just pretend that I'm gonna hit the Nexus, right? Notice that I can actually use spells here. We did that before in the very beginning of the game. We were able to use this to be able to strike, right? And now that we learned most of the basic mechanics, we can talk about keywords and how to deck build, stuff like that, but that part doesn't really matter. This is fine here. You can close the video, but right now I'm also going to edit me playing a real match so I can show you all these things in play. All right, let's play. Now we're gonna put what we have in a way more aggressive person. That deck is a little more aggressive than the one we played. And we're gonna look, okay, how do we want to play? Well, we don't want to have the things that cost 6 or 7 mana in our hand right away because it's gonna take a while for us to get there. And so this hand is pretty good. In fact, I'm gonna take this card out just because I don't want to use it right now. Right? Let's take it out. Oh, we got double Teemo, which means that if one of them dies, we can use the other one. Notice that they're the ones who attack. And so we wanna we wanna make sure that we don't defend, right? Our champions are kind of like key pieces. So we don't want to trade in for a 1/1, right? Even though that we cost the same, this costs 1. And I cost 1, or the Teemo costs 1, doesn't mean that it's a fair trade. We just hold off because I believe that my cards deal better damage or will have a better effect on me winning than them. Now you can see that what happened to my Teemo, right? The Teemo used to be here and now it's a whole different card. Well, because we don't want to draw a lot of champions, especially because we can only have one of each type of champion on the board, the developer said, well, we don't just want to accidentally draw 2 or 3 Teemos and now they're just in your hand and you can't even play them. We want you to play cards. So Teemo, if we have another copy of him in our hand, converts into this card, a 1-cost burst speed that plants 5 poison puff caps on random cards in the enemy deck. Kind of like what he does if he strikes, right? So that's exactly what we can do. We can use our other Teemo copy to put more puff caps in their deck. Check it out. We strike with 1 and we send 5 puff caps. The cool thing about this is once you use this, that does not mean your Teemo copy is gone forever. In fact, once it uses it, it creates a copy of Teemo, so this card, back into your deck. So it's a good way to recycle your champion cards if you're not really using them. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my slow spell to get rid of this. And check out what it says. To play, spend all your mana. Deal that much to a unit. If we were to have 3 spell mana here at the bottom, and we had our whole mana field completely full, it can deal up to 13 because we have 10 on the top, 3 here, right? And right now it's 2. So even though it's not dealing as much damage, it's a lot more flexible of a card. So I'm gonna do that just to get rid of this. And check it out. Want to commit? Usually in the early game, we don't have anything that they have that they can respond with. So it's also another thing of, should I play it now? Should I wait for later when it's a little stronger, but they can have something to counteract it, right? So many different things to think about. I'm gonna say, okay, he's summoning this. This is totally fine with me. That's totally fine with me. I'm saying I don't want to do anything. I'm just passing my turn. And now notice something cool here, right? Notice that Teemo can block here. Notice that this guy also has the same pattern as Teemo here in the card, right? But I'm not gonna do anything. Again, my Teemo is the most important thing in the deck. And so I want to make sure that he stays put. Even though I'm taking damage, I know later on I will be able to in this, it's kind of like playing the long game. I think in the long scheme of things, I'm gonna do a lot better. Okay, check this out, right? Check out that this no longer has that thing as Teemo, right? And so, do we want to attack right now? I don't believe so. I'm gonna summon this guy who's very strong. And I'm gonna use one of the burst speeds because we saved up an extra mana gem. Check this out. Right? And here's something that the computer won't be able to do. So what I want to show off is that Teemo has this special keyword called elusive, right? Outside of its effects, it has this keyword called elusive. Now, what does it do? Elusives can only block into each other. That means if they don't have an elusive card on their field, they cannot block Teemo as much as they want to, as much as they cry and, you know, they cannot block Teemo. Check it out. Notice that they are using this unit, which deals 2 damage, but can only take 1 hit of damage to block this guy. But they didn't block Teemo, and that's because they can't. It's elusive, they cannot attack it. Now you'll notice that they has this little cracks on the card. This is something that knew that Riot implemented. That means that if we were to resolve this attack, that attack's gonna die, or that unit's gonna die, and he won't. Why? Because he has 4 health, 4 of the red card right here. He has 4 health, and he's able to deal 4. So he hits 4 to this guy. He doesn't have enough life to survive. This guy deals 2, but I have enough health to survive. And check it out. I attack with him, and I level up. Let's go, Teemo. And he attacks. I take 2. But now my person can not only attack, but it can also defend. And that's one of the cool things about these larger units, is that that's how you usually play them. Okay, it doesn't seem like they have anything too crazy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw more. Remember, my deck is all about drawing, trying to find out some better cards, right? So I think I'm going to get rid of our unit so we can draw. Perfect. And we're going to say, okay, if he wants to attack, we shall grant that. And we want to use this to... Let's get rid of this guy. Okay. Right? We're using the spells that we can interact with right now. We're blocking. And we were able to go from taking 6, 10, 12, 14 damage to only taking 5, right? Just by learning how to block correctly. Now, let's go on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for an immediate attack. So that way they don't put in any extra cards. They don't do anything crazy. I'm going to go for an extra attack. And I'm going to plant as many puff caps as I can. Right? So that way, if we attack, they will double their puff caps, taking them from 24 all the way to 48. Check it out. We deal 2. Doubles the amount that they have, and now they have 48 puff caps, right? And now we get to the final part of all the types of cards in Legends of Runeterra. We're going to talk about this landmark. Notice that it says landmark here, right? And it's kind of strange. It takes the space of a unit on the board, but it doesn't attack. It doesn't have any attack. It doesn't have any health, right? What this does is think about it in Yu-Gi-Oh! As like a field spell. I like to think about it as like this permanent card. And as long as it stays on the field, every single time we start a round, we draw a card. Why is that useful? You'll see right now. Not only does that give us enough stuff for our hand, but remember that they are drawing cards, right? That means that if they double the amount of cards they draw, they have a more likelihood to draw puff caps. And so that's the way that we play this deck. Notice that they draw 1 here, and because we draw 1 more time, now they draw 2. Let's see, I think what I want to do is I want to summon this Jinx. And I think what I want to do is I want to do this, right? Notice that now Teemo is strong enough to block here, but I'm scared on what they might have. So it's okay if I take 2 damage, right? Because we're planning to kill this. That's fine with me. That dies. We only took 2 damage, right? And now they have an elusive, right? Notice that they have an elusive card, and I don't want to deal with that because they're going to block Teemo. So I won't attack with Teemo this turn. What I'm going to do is I'm going to summon the Jinx. What I'm going to do with the Jinx is actually I'm going to use this card right here to play discard 1. And I think I'm going to discard the Poro Cannon to get rid of this card because it's elusive. It's going to block us and I don't want that. I don't want them to block Teemo. I want Teemo to swing and kill him. But that dies. And now we attack. Don't worry about what they have. That's okay with me because all we're worried about is Teemo hitting. Check it out. We hit another 2. And now they have 88 puff caps. Now let's see how often they draw something. Check it out. Now they're drawing 3 puff caps. Another 3. They have 3 left. And check it out, right? Now they're starting to they're starting to try and win. So what I'm thinking is, you know what? I think Teemo has done enough puff caps. I'm gonna block here. And I'm gonna use this Get Excited to go straight for the Nexus. And notice that takes away 3 for there. And they lose. Let's see if they're able to let us do that. We discard a card. They put a spell to counteract something that I'm trying to do. Now this spell doesn't necessarily counteract mine. All that means is that it's a fast spell, right? It's a fast spell that they want to use on top of mine. And so because I placed mine first, theirs will resolve first and then mine. Think about it like chips on a board. I put mine and they put theirs on top. And so which one will take effect first? Theirs and then mine, right? We kind of stack them on top of each other. But I believe we're going to win. Check it out. Bam. We win. Even though our Teemo is gone and even though we were only left with 6, we were able to win. And that is how we play this game. Now there are so many different things, so many different other ways to play. Check it out. We have other champions like Illaoi or Thresh with way stronger cards like a 5-cost spell or an 8-cost unit, right? How strong are these cards, right? We also have even stronger, check this out. We have cards that go up to 12 mana. That means these are like, we have to spend 10 turns basically waiting, not use mana the turn before because we need to save that additional mana to use this card. So this card has to be an insanely powerful card, right? Or maybe this champion right here. It's 8 cost. That means you can only play this champion until the very end of the game. And so this champion is a very strong one. Check that out. 8 damage, 4 health. When it levels up, it turns into 9 damage, 9 health, 3 different keywords to make it even more, even harder to block, right? His spell is 8 cost, which grants any person that you have, any unit, 8 damage and 8 health. And these cards get even stronger, right? So have fun making them. I just wanted to show you guys how to play this game, all the different keywords that we have. Maybe that can be a different type of deck, or You can check out my live streams, or you can check out my videos to see what other kind of decks we have. I don't go into this much in depth on how to play the game, but hopefully this serves as a good guide. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I shall see you guys next time. Peace.